It's just Jersey, man. We're a different breed. Place. Who doesn't want to win in Jersey?
What's up, everybody? Jon Forster here, Breakdown from the Barn, episode 29. With me, as always, the greatest mind in wrestling, Eric Winnuck. And we got a big guest on the show today. All-American from Rutgers last year, Greg Bulsak. Greg, how you making out, man?
I'm good, man. How are you guys? How's everything going?
We're loving it, man. We're doing good. We're getting ready for the season to start. You know, we got a lot of big things cooking. I'll tell you, just for the viewers at home, these t-shirts are selling like hotcakes, man. You want to get one? I'm setting up a store that's not quite up yet for now. Venmo me, email me on the website, but we sold a bunch and we got our first NIL deal getting signed. I can't release it yet. We got the breakdown from the Barn lawyers working on all the paperwork, but within the next week or so, we're going to announce that. And now we're working on number 2. So buy a t-shirt. We'll get you out there. And then big event coming up on the 20th, January 20th, before the Michigan State match. We got the Breakdown from the Barn pregame show. This is going to be the biggest tailgate in college wrestling history. We got a huge tent with Dylan Shawver on the front. Heat it. It's going to be big. So I want everyone circle your calendars for that.
And I'll tell you, John, I'll just jump in about the t-shirts. And I'm really picky about what I wear. I'm kind of a snob when it comes to t-shirts. I get some of the old, like I was saying the last show, cotton ones are uncomfortable. These things, I kid you not, I got my old junkie on today. Like John, they are seriously for the money. They're so comfortable. I'm not lying, man. $20, you get crap these days. That's something you get like at a concert, some cheap thing that kind of shrinks on you. These things, I'm telling you, I go to bed with these things. They're so comfortable. So seriously, man, you could do a lot worse for $20. These things are definitely worth it.
Hey, get it done. So Greg, what have you been up to these days? What's going on? Life after wrestling. You got that All-American honors last year. What are you doing these days?
Yeah, man. I mean, before I get into that, like you said about the Michigan State on the 20th, I'm gonna have to pencil that in because I'm fired up for that one. I'm fired up to get back up there and just watch the team. And it's gonna be weird not competing, but I'm excited to see everybody compete and win some big matches, and that's going to be a good one for sure. So I'm pumped for that one. Nice. But I'm back in Pittsburgh now. I'm actually an enterprise sales development rep for a company called Top Towel, and I'm liking it a lot. I'm liking the sales role a lot. Seems to fit really well. I kind of compare it to wrestling and competition, just the way like I'm trying to set up meetings with top people, top directors, stuff like that. Just the way I kind of compare it to wrestling is really helping me, and it's kind of how I landed the job pretty much. Is just the work ethic and the competitive drive, stuff like that. And then I'm helping out at Pitt part-time, wrestling with Nino Bonacorsi, maxed out, was big time recruit last year there. He's going to do good this year. Reese Heller, I forget what his last name is, transfer from Hofstra. So those guys are doing pretty good there too, and excited to watch them too.
Nice.
And that's awesome, Greg. We were talking about
into that. Great doing the sales role. Let's jump into the regional training center at Pitt. I know they got a great team coming back. Nino Bonacorsi, you had a big win over him last year, and I know he's trying to get back to the national finals. How's that training going? How's Nino looking this year? 197 is a stacked field again, but a lot of guys could take it, right?
Yeah, man, 197. It's if anything, it might even be tougher than last year. Not a lot of people left, and like some of the really good guys are back, so it's gonna be a tough one. But Nino's looking good, man. He's feeling good. I trained with Nino actually a lot of like youth, a lot of middle school and stuff, because he grew up 10 minutes from me. His house, like home, is maybe 10 to 15 minutes down the road. So we always wrestled together growing up, and we've been friends for a while. So it's nice helping him out. And the way we wrestle is a lot different too. Shoots a lot. He's very good in certain positions, but he's not super dynamic in different ways. He's not scrambling and stuff. And I'm good when people are in on my legs. So we wrestle completely opposite. So it's been good for him to just, change how he wrestles, not change how he wrestles, but learn how to wrestle in different positions better. And he's looking good. He's feeling good. So I'm excited for him.
Nice.
That's good stuff. And John and I were tripping to come in, but I want to talk a little bit more kind of what we're saying before the broadcast about, that transition of going from wrestling into actually join the real world. So it sounds cool that you're really enjoying what you're doing, but you still got one foot in wrestling. I think that's a really nice thing. There's a lot of guys, I think, after their competition, it's like there's a void in their life and they just don't know how to fill that. So it sounds like you've been able to kind of stay on the mat, help some guys out while still kicking off your career. So I think it's all great stuff. So talking about transition, let's go right into it. You were a 4-time national qualifier. You made the decision kind of, post matches go and kind of leave and find a new arena, so to speak. You end up at Rutgers. Why don't you talk us through what brought you to Rutgers from PA, coming over, kind of crossing the border, come to New Jersey, come to wrestle for Mike, at Mike's Arena. And keep in mind, there were some strong guys in those upper weight classes. Obviously, we just talked to Janzo last week. So what was it that brought you to Rutgers? What made that decision for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was so I always knew I was going to leave Clarion my last year because I wanted to go to physical therapy school, and I ended up not doing that, long story short there, but I knew I was going to leave and thought I was going to be going to physical therapy school somewhere. Didn't work out. Well, I didn't end up going to physical therapy school, but it all worked out. Anyways, whenever I entered the transfer portal, I already had a good relationship with Kyle Kiss because he was my assistant coach at Clarion for a couple of years.
Right.
So
yep,
he was there. We had a good relationship. We stayed in touch. Whenever I entered the transfer portal, obviously I started talking to him a lot more, got in contact with Goody, Donnie, Pollard, and then Pagano. And I narrowed it down to a few schools. Rutgers was a big one. I always knew in the back of my mind too, before I even went in the portal, that there was a good shot I'd go to Rutgers. And then I liked a lot of the Minnesota coaches a lot, and I liked the Lehigh coaches. So it was down to three schools that I really liked. And I got Pagano's number and I went down to Rutgers just to like hang out with him and, see the campus and everything. And me and Pagano got along pretty well, pretty quick. I talked about this at the banquet in front of everybody too. Right whenever I got there, we're getting ready and stuff just to hang out and go out. And he's like, he looks at my jeans and he sees that they're like rolled up, they're cuffed. And then he sees like I have these little socks on stuff. I don't know if you guys can hear my cat right now, by the way. She's meowing a lot.
No.
But he's like, you cuff your jeans? I'm like, yeah. And then he starts talking to me and he's like, do you go tanning, man? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you shave your arms? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, did we just become best friends? Because Pagano has always been that kind of guy that does all that. He's freshly shaved and stuff all the time. So he made a good impression really quick too. He's a really good guy anyways to begin with, not even just the fact that we were so similar in certain ways. And
Jordy's a good dude. He actually he's actually a guest broadcaster, John, on this show. He filled in for me one time. So he's definitely a cool cat. Speaking of cats, I like Jordy a lot. So that's good stuff. So obviously you've got the connection with Jordy. He also had a similar situation coming from Penn State, transferring over from Pennsylvania school to New Jersey. So you guys have that in common as well. So that's a good connection to kind of catch up with. Like I said, just a lot of quality upper weights historically the last couple of years. So I think that was a nice fit for you. And it obviously worked out well. So
yeah, and I think whenever I came there, and even in the back of my mind, I kind of knew like probably going to be Rutgers, but like I'm not 100% sure. And then whenever like I met Pagano, I met a couple of the guys, I was like, this is where I want to be because it's not too far from home. I get to be in front of a huge crowd at Jersey Mike's, which at the time was the Rack. Huge crowd, Big Ten, and that's where the competition is, obviously. And I not knocking Clarion because I love Clarion the whole 5 years I was there, but being able to wrestle the top guys all the time. I probably had, I don't know, 20 to 25 ranked matches last year, and I think that's something that really helped me in the long run. You have your ups and downs. I had a few not bad losses, but a few losses in a row brought me down a little bit. But that competition was what really helped me in the end of the year, I thought.
yeah, and that's good stuff. And that's something Janzer pointed out when we had him on the broadcast, the fact that when you're wrestling the Big Ten, literally every single match is a big match. You literally could get a top 10, top 20 guy every single time you go out there. So you mentioned coming over to what was the Rack, now Jersey Mike's Arena. So why don't you talk us through that? What was it like wrestling? Because obviously, like I said, it's not to knock Clarion, but going from that environment, coming into basically 5,000-6,000 crazy screaming fans in New Jersey, what was that transition like? And just talk us about wrestling in Mike's Arena.
Wrestling in front of a big crowd is, it's what you're there for. You always want to, that's where you should thrive. At least I think you should love to do that kind of thing. Like the COVID year, I mean, it was nice being able to go to nationals and stuff, but it wasn't the same thing not having that crowd there. So I think the difference between Clarion and Rutgers in that aspect is every time we were at Rutgers, I mean, there was at least a decent sized crowd. And then some of the times, I think the Army match was 6,500 people, something like that. And that's, like I said before, that's where you want to wrestle. And it was great. I think in those atmospheres too, in almost any atmosphere, you should want to wrestle there and you should thrive. And the way I always thought about it was, if I'm in front of a big crowd, I want to put on a show, whether it's just me winning or it's me turning people or with a power half, something like that. And the way I always went on the mat was to go with an intent where to think you shouldn't be on my mat, pretty much. Where, like, I don't know if you guys could tell in my demeanor when I'd go out there, but I was confident that I was going to beat anybody and they shouldn't even be on the same mat as me. And I think something that really fired me up at Jersey Mike's Arena was being in front of a ton of people, a home crowd cheering for me the whole time. And I had a few tough matches there, but it really gives you the confidence boost going out there too.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, sometimes being in that environment, almost some guys, it lifts their game, other guys get intimidated and they almost get crushed underneath the weight of it. But I really felt like you thrived off it, Greg, to your point, going out and put the show, because the start you had last year, and obviously you ended on top as well, getting on that podium. In fact, John and I were talking about, you were thinking you were a fringe podium guy, this guy can maybe make a run. It's like, can this guy actually finish top 4? So yeah, I think you really thrived in that environment. And I can almost think, if you had maybe a couple of years under that environment, how you could have done, because I really do think you took to it well. You definitely put on a good show for the crowd. So yeah, that's what we hear. You want to come, you want to wrestle in front of those guys, you want to lift your game up, and you definitely did.
Yeah. So let's go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think for that Army match too, wrestling JT Brown in front of the big crowd there. I mean, he's a tough wrestler, but I remember specifically too, after that first period, he was gassed, and it was like we had, like, I don't know, a few exchanges back and forth, and whenever I felt him kind of break and then the whole crowd going crazy and stuff, when I turned him, like, those are the moments you live for.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. And talk about that room at Rutgers. You talk about Jordan Pagano rolling the jeans up and stuff, but how about the practice room? How was that training, and how'd that help you?
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, I wasn't used to that either. I wasn't used to that atmosphere. I was used to really trying to push myself as much as I could, but I didn't have, 5 really good guys at the time. I didn't have Donnie, who's, might be like 40-ish, 20 years older than me, but he's still like Superman. He didn't have Donnie, he didn't have Jordan Pagano, Pause, Miles back then. Just a bunch of different guys, like a bunch of super high caliber guys all the time. And whenever you're in an environment like that, you either succumb to the pressure and you just, roll over, or your pride takes over and you need to push yourself as hard as you can all the time, and especially if you want to win. And that's what happens whenever you're competitive and you want to win and you want to be the best. So I think being in that environment really helped me a lot, because I felt almost match ready in, let's say August, September, because I was just there all summer wrestling the best guys all the time. And if you're training consistently with some of the best guys, even if it's not, in like the season setting, you're still going to feel really good on the mat.
Yeah. It's funny because that's a fair point. It's almost like you talk about, a big arena, some guys can thrive under, some guys can get crushed on it. We were talking, I figured, John, forget, John, which broadcast we were talking about, when guys get to college for the first time, you go from being a stud in high school. Okay. You're the main guy on the mat. And then you come in this room where you're just like another guy. And again, some wrestlers can say, they break under that, where, to your point, you walked in there, you were looking for that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You basically got national finalists in there, all Americans. I mean, Donnie Pritzloff, my God, third in the world. To go into that room, it could break you, or you could basically thrive under. And sound again, same thing. It sounds like you live for the competition. It kind of brought you up. So all good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that blood round match. Lou Duprez, All American, lost narrowly to Max Dean. I think a lot of people would say some questionable calls in that match. So you get Lou Duprez in that blood round match and eked out a tight one. What was that feeling like to get over that hump and get on that podium, getting through a tough opponent like Lou Duprez?
I mean, it was a great feeling. I mean, even thinking back to the match, like there's a couple positions where I'm like, oh my God, I was close to getting scored on. I was close to getting taken down. And then even that last minute, like he's hanging on to my foot and he's racking up riding time and stuff. And I'm like, man, if this was, I forget how much riding time I wrote it down to, but if he would have held on another 20 seconds, it might have changed the match there. But it was an amazing feeling. It was really weird because I didn't, I didn't go crazy or anything right away. I just like was so happy and just kind of wanted to hug everyone, to be honest. Like I remember giving Kiss a hug, giving Donnie a hug, Goody, Seb when we walked back there, Pause. Like I was just in a super happy moment. And it didn't hit me right away until I'd say a couple weeks later when it was all said and done, because that's what I worked for 6 years in college. And I mean, I wanted to be a national champ, but I wanted to be on that podium really bad. And I knew I didn't try to think about this too much for the weeks ahead of time, but I knew that if I was just a 5-time qualifier and didn't get on the podium that year, that I would have, thought about that for the rest of my life. So I was really glad that I could make it happen.
In some way, that's got to be satisfying because we were talking to CJ Composto at UPenn a couple weeks ago, and being a young guy who gets on the podium his first full year and him trying to react like, oh my God, I just beat Steven Michik. In some ways, someone like yourself, to your point, 6 years at Clarion, coming over to Rutgers as a grad student, I'm sure getting to the nationals the first time, it's cool. The second time, it's at some point, it's like, my God, am I going to do anything here? So for you I think that in some ways that's more satisfying, because it's almost a way to culminate your career and it's kind of hitting that peak. So I think that's a great story. And you're right. It's like, I put all this hard work in it and it finally paid off. So, like I said, it's in some ways it's more refreshing to see somebody at the end of their career kind of come out on top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was, I definitely, I would say matured a lot throughout the years too, while I was in college, where my first year, it was like, I obviously didn't like losing. Like I wanted to beat everybody, but I wanted to make it there. And I almost like didn't think that I was going to be on the podium. And then as my next year, it was like, okay, I want to be on the podium. But every year, I mean, first year, like I said, I got there, I accomplished that. Then I realized I need to be on the podium. Year after that, I actually ended up getting surgery a week before the national tournament on my knee because my meniscus locked up and I couldn't get it to unlock. So I got immediate surgery a week before, but I still wanted to compete. I wouldn't even say it hindered me that much because like all that adrenaline going and stuff, it was, I was able to wrestle on it. It hurt afterwards, but I was able to wrestle fine on it, but still didn't have the outcome I wanted. Year after that, I was wrestling really good. COVID happened, bummer, but nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
And then my 5th year, it's just, I mean, we were in and out of the room constantly because of the quarantine and everything. And like, I could have told myself going into the tournament that I didn't feel that great either. So it was do or die my last year. And I was, really excited to get on the podium and just have all the training, good training partners, all the competition and stuff throughout the year to really prepare me for it too.
Good stuff. So let's now flash forward to the future here. We got Rutgers Clarion coming up in I guess a week or two. John and I will be mat side. So what should we look out for at that Rutgers Clarion match? A, are you going to be there? And B, is there anyone we should be looking out for?
As of right now, I don't know if I'm going to be there or not. That's 50-50 right now if I'm going to make the trip down. And then B, I mean, Joey Fisher he's from my town, South Park. He's a Pittsburgh boy. He's tough. I like Joey. He's tough. I do think though that D Shaw he was really just getting better all last year. He was getting better every match, it seemed like, and he was just right below the cusp of making it and being on that podium. And I think he's going to do it this year. I think he's still a little bit above Joey, even though I think Joey's going to do good. think that'll be another good match though. They wrestled last year. It was a close one. I think D Shaw wins in a close one again. I 41 pounder Seth Coleno. I like him a lot. He was he was one of my good friends at Clarion, but he's running into a hammer with Sammy. I mean, I hope he wrestles well, but I think Sammy's gonna do pretty well in that.
Warn you, man. Sammy's. We were talking to Sammy a couple weeks ago. That man looks like he's on a mission. I think he's got a little bit of chip that people forgot about him. So I would not want to be wrestling that dude early in the year because I think he's looking to remind people who he is.
He's such a good wrestler too. He's, he had a obviously bad weight cut getting down to 33. He's huge. He's huge for 33. It wasn't his weight, but he's an unbelievable wrestler. I think he's going to shock some people this year, even though everybody knows he's good. I think he's going to beat some really good guys for sure.
Yeah. So
and then
talking about Sammy, sure. Anybody else? So why don't we do this? The Rutgers team, the lineup this year. Anyone else that you'd be looking out for? Anything else that that you're looking forward to the year out of the Rutgers lineup?
Yeah, let me think. I'm excited for D Shaw for sure because I think he was, like I said, I think he was right on the cusp. I think he's going to do really well this year. I'm excited to see Sammy. I'm excited for everybody, but specifically excited to see Sammy at 41. Excited to see Tony White wrestling. I know he's going to do super good. Clark down at 57 now, right? I'm excited to see Clark wrestling. I wish Paz wasn't red shirting, but I'm excited to see Soldano come in there. I wrestled with Soldano last year and in the summer, and he's tough. He's gonna do really well.
He's the real deal.
He's gonna do well for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for Boone too. He's staying big. I hear he told me not too long ago that he's still at like 260. He didn't get down to 235 like last year. So I'm excited to see a big Boone confident wrestling because he's a really good wrestler. If he goes out there and shoots in the first 7 minutes instead of the 8th minute in overtime, I think he's going to do really well.
Yep. All good stuff. So now, obviously, you're at Pitt. You kind of touched on it. Sounds like things are going well there. And, mention you're wrestling with Bonacorsi again, and obviously, you guys had a nice little match last year. How's he looking?
He's looking good. He's solid, man. He's what you're going to get with him, but it's hard to stop. He's really good, and I think he's getting better in positions that he wasn't good in before. I think he's getting a lot better on the mat, which he didn't really focus on ever until this year. He's getting better when people are in on his legs. He's working on the little things a lot more because he's always been super solid and he always beats the majority of people. But at that weight, like we were talking about, 97 this year, you need to be good everywhere, and you need to try to get as good as you can in every position. And I think he's doing that now.
Nice. Yeah, looking forward to him in that field. 197 this year. It's going to be a very exciting weight. I see you posting the ATAC app. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Could I get guns like Bulsak using that?
Yeah, download it. No, it's just a really cool thing they're doing. I mean, I went down there with I went to New York with Nate Jackson to do like a video shoot with them and for their app where they're recording different exercises and stuff. And then after that, they asked me to be an athlete for it. And I said, yeah, I thought it was a cool idea and stuff, but I'm excited for what they have coming in the future. I'm pretty sure they're going to try to do, like the Whoop strap or like Fitbits, that kind of thing. I think they're going to try to do something like that where they find one of those things and do like a membership type deal. Mm-hmm. Not sure when that's coming though. We talked about that a while ago. And then I'm pretty sure they're also going to transition it to more of an all athlete thing too. So I'm excited for that. I think that's going to work out well for them because it's already a really cool app for wrestlers. So if they diversified it a little bit, I think they'll get a lot of people to use it.
Cool. Good stuff. So I got a question for you. We were talking about obviously you being back at Pitt, kind of the Pennsylvania wrestlers, Jersey wrestling or Pennsylvania wrestling. And they had a little bit of thing on the starting weight classes and how they would perform. I think PA this year probably has a little bit of an edge on it. But in general, what are your thoughts? PA wrestling, New Jersey wrestling?
PA, man. PA, born and raised. I'm going PA. Sorry, guys.
All good.
It's all good. All right. So I got one final question for you. People call us somewhat of homers, but, we call it like it is. We call it down the middle. And, got some criticism for you last year and the Rutgers coaching staff. So let me ask you this, go back, you beat Lou DePrez, you get younger Bastida, tough dude, right? Why the hell didn't you pick Top? Listen, you got. I'm part Cuban, dude. Most people don't know this. I'm part Cuban. That guy's a beast, but he had no clue on bottom. I don't know about. I think that power half would have.
And watching you ride them legs and get on top, man. Come on.
You're right. I know. I can't dwell on it now. But probably should have went top. I wish I had another second because I thought I was going to take him down in the third in the last second there. Just missed it, but. I can't dwell on it now, but if I would have went top, I think I could have turned him too. So you're right about that. I
would have told you to pick top in the first period of that match. Let the ref figure that out. I would have went out, pick top, see what happens. But great year last year. You were a fan favorite. Great having you on the show. We're gonna interview you again. Get out there on the 20th. We're interviewing you under the tent.
Go get your shirts too.
Pregame show. Get your Roll Junkie shirts, guys. Get it. Get the Roll Junkie shirts. We're gonna get another NIL deal coming. Get them going. Jon Forster 1 on Venmo. Get me them and follow the show, man. Follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast sold. And see you guys later, baby.